The little girl's finger hovered in the air, trembling with innocent hope as it pointed toward the strawberry cake behind the glass. Her eyes shone brighter than the bakery lights, wide and trusting, unaware of how heavy the moment felt in her father's chest. Snow drifted softly outside the window, the kind that made the world look gentle even when life was not. The man holding her swallowed hard, staring at the thin leather wallet in his hand, already knowing the truth before he looked inside. In that quiet, fragile second, when love met reality, his heart broke all over again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that can change a life, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that need them most. The man's name was Daniel, and life had not been kind to him lately. Once, years ago, he had dreams that stretched far beyond survival. He had worked in construction, saved carefully, and imagined a future where his daughter would never feel the weight of scarcity. But then came the accident that crushed his leg and ended his job, followed by medical bills that swallowed his savings whole. His wife had left not long after, unable to carry the constant strain, leaving Daniel alone with a small child and a world that no longer waited for him to catch up. Since then, every day had been a careful balance between love and limitation. The bakery was warm and smelled of sugar and butter, a sharp contrast to the cold outside and the cold fear that lived quietly inside Daniel. It was his daughter Lily's birthday, and he had promised her a treat, something small to make the day feel special. She was only 4, but she already knew how to look at the world with wonder, finding joy in simple things like falling snow and bright cakes behind glass. Daniel had hoped a small pastry would be enough, something he could manage without counting coins twice. But Lily's eyes had found the biggest cake, crowned with strawberries and soft white cream, and in her excitement, she had pointed without hesitation. Daniel looked down at his wallet, its worn edges telling the story of too many careful choices. Inside were a few crumpled bills, barely enough for bread and milk for the week. His fingers tightened, and for a moment he closed his eyes, feeling the familiar sting of failure. He hated this part most, the moment when he had to choose between honesty and his child's happiness. He leaned his forehead lightly against Lily's hair, breathing in her clean, innocent scent, wishing with everything he had that love alone could pay the bill. Behind them, unnoticed by Daniel, another man stood quietly in line. He was tall, well-dressed in a simple but expensive coat, his presence calm and unassuming. His name was Marcus Hale, though no one in the bakery knew it. To most of the world, he was a powerful businessman, a self-made millionaire whose name appeared in magazines and headlines. But in that moment, he was simply a man watching a father struggle with a decision he himself had faced long ago in a very different way. Marcus had grown up with nothing, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and still counted coins at the grocery store. He remembered standing in places like this bakery, pretending not to want things he knew they could not afford. He remembered the shame his mother tried so hard to hide and the love that made her try anyway. That memory had never left him, no matter how high he climbed. Seeing Daniel there, shoulders heavy with quiet defeat, stirred something deep and painful in Marcus's chest. Daniel finally opened his eyes and straightened up. He knelt slightly so he could meet Lily's gaze, forcing a gentle smile that did not quite reach his eyes. He explained as softly as he could that the cake was too big, that they would have to choose something smaller today. Lily's smile faltered, confusion replacing excitement. She did not cry, did not argue. She simply nodded, accepting his words with a trust that cut deeper than anger ever could. That trust was what broke him. The woman behind the counter waited patiently, unaware of the storm inside the men before her. Daniel pointed to a small cupcake, cheaper, simpler, trying to make it sound like an adventure instead of a compromise. Lily held onto his jacket, still peeking at the big cake as if memorizing it for another day. Daniel felt the familiar ache settle in his chest, the one that came from knowing he was doing his best and still feeling like it was not enough. That was when Marcus stepped forward. There was no dramatic announcement, no raised voice or grand gesture. He simply placed his hand on the counter and calmly paid for the large cake, along with a few extra pastries. He asked the cashier to box everything carefully and wished Lily a happy birthday with a warm smile. Daniel turned, startled, confusion and embarrassment flashing across his face as he realized what had happened. Marcus met Daniel's eyes, and in that look was understanding rather than pity. He explained quietly that sometimes people help not because they have to, but because they remember what it feels like to stand where someone else is standing. He said that a child's joy was worth more than money, and that kindness was an investment that always paid itself back. There were no speeches, no names given, just a simple act offered without conditions. Daniel felt tears sting his eyes, the kind he had learned to hold back for years. He wanted to refuse, pride rising up like a shield, but then he looked at Lily, who was now smiling again, her joy restored as if it had never been threatened. In that moment, Daniel understood that accepting help was not weakness. It was love choosing humility over pride for the sake of a child's happiness. As they left the bakery, cake box carefully balanced in Daniel's hands, the snow seemed softer, the world a little warmer. Lily laughed, talking excitedly about strawberries and candles, unaware of the weight that had just been lifted from her father's heart. Daniel walked slower than usual, letting the moment sink in, feeling something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. That night, after Lily fell asleep clutching a stuffed toy and dreaming of cake, Daniel sat alone at the small kitchen table. He thought about the stranger's kindness and what it meant. It was not just about the cake. It was about being seen, about being reminded that his struggle mattered, that he was not invisible. It gave him the courage to believe that his life was not defined by what he could not give, but by the love he never stopped giving. Months later, Daniel found work again, slower and lighter than before, but honest. He saved when he could, smiled more often, and told Lily stories about heroes who helped others without expecting anything in return. Somewhere out there, Marcus continued his life, never knowing just how deeply one small act had changed another man's path. Or maybe he knew, and that was why he did it. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive. And before the video ends, leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what this story made you feel. Sometimes, your words can be the kindness someone else needs today. Because in the end, it's not the money we remember, but the moments when someone chose to care.